Time for the Saratoga video, DRF.com. My guest today, as he is just about every Thursday during the meet, Dave Grening, and we're going to look at Saturday's Whitney Day card. And I guess the first thing we need to discuss pertinent to the card is the weather. We know there's a lot of rain heading this way, at least on Friday. What's the latest forecast? Have you checked it out?
Well, it's Thursday as we tape this, and it's getting cloudy and starting to feel like rain as it is. Friday looks like the worst of the days coming up, maybe over an inch of rain on Friday. Saturday, there's a chance of some thunderstorms throughout the card, maybe about a quarter inch of rain. So really Friday, depends how much rain we get Friday and when, will probably determine how wet that track is.
And you'd hate to see some of the outcomes of these races determined by an off racetrack or an off turf course, which is almost certain to be the case if the forecast holds. Hopefully it won't get so bad we won't have to take any of those 3 turf stakes off the grass. But before we get to the turf races, let's go to the main event. There are 2 Grade 1 races actually on the card, both on the dirt, the Whitney and the Test. But we'll start, of course, with the Whitney, which not a lot of buzz around it until Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday morning, when Rick Violet went ahead and decided that he's going to run Diversify.
Yeah, right after the horse won the Suburban, he said that he was going to probably skip the Whitney and point for the Woodward. But the horse seems to be doing so well. He's eating everything. He's training well. He's put on weight. Rick does a lot of blood work with us, takes a lot of blood work and gets tested every so often, and that was the final piece to the puzzle on Monday after the good work on Sunday, and it came back Tuesday, and it came back strong enough and good enough that he's decided to go. Look, it's $1.2 million. The Woodward's only $750. There's no killer. I'm not even sure who'll be if you took him out of the mix, who would be the favorite? I guess Diversify will be the favorite right now. He's run really well on this racetrack. Last year won the Evan Shipman with a 109 buyer, I believe it was. He's got speed. He showed in the commentator he can stalk. Why not take a shot?
And Rick just hoping that dreaded 6-letter word, bounce, doesn't come into play. But the New York breeders are actually beaming because the 2 favorites are Diversify and that other pretty good New York bred, Mind Your Biscuits.
Well, he's sort of a wild card in the sense that what will he do around 2 turns? He's never run around 2 turns before. He's never run this far. Chad Summers, his trainer, is quite confident that he'll be able to handle it. His mile races were both very good. His Met Mile was about as good as the losing races you could possibly run, and even ran pretty well last year in the Cigar Mile. Ran into just a very razor sharp Azteca. So that he can close at a mile should bode well about going a mile and an eighth. I'm not confident he'll do it, but Chad Summers is around the horse every day. I'm not, so I'll go with him.
And then there's that other Chad we were talking about from a reporter's standpoint. The one-stop shopping to take care of this whole card would be to go see trainer Chad Brown, and he's got Backyard Heaven in the Whitney. Only one in the Whitney. He's got about 8 more we can talk about later in the card in these stakes, but I think that's who you like.
It is who I like. Look, his Ali Sheba on Oaks Day was a very strong performance. He bounced, or the Stephen Foster was just a bad race. You could maybe he bounced, maybe the heat got to him. A lot of horses didn't run their races that night. Irish War Cry being another one. Maybe he just didn't handle the heat. So if you draw a line through that race and go back to the 3 before that, they're all very good. He's proven around 2 turns. He should be able to get a mile and an eighth. I think he's going to get a really with Diversify and Dalmore in there. Hopefully one keeping the other company. I think he's going to work out a really nice trip, Backyard Heaven. Interesting game of musical chairs with the jockey situation. When Diversify came in, Irad was committed to ride Backyard Heaven. A lot of wrangling going around where some changes went so that Irad got back on Diversify. Javier Castellano was on Backyard Heaven, and Ricardo Santana Jr. is on Dalmore, which was who Javier Castellano was supposed to ride.
And the only guy who's going to bet more money on Backyard Heaven than you is Ken Ramsey, who said he will be betting with both hands. Let's talk about the Test, and we got Chad Brown, the key player in here. He's got Separation of Powers, Alter Moon. Separation of Powers, a Grade 1 winner already. Had an 8-month layoff, came back in the victory ride as about half this field did, and that race was over for her right after the start. The old adage, they're off, you lose when they break bad, and that's what happened with Separation of Powers. Ran great to finish 4th, and Chad is expecting a much better effort with a little more luck on Saturday.
I would think that she should move forward off the effort. Look, like you said, she got way out of position when she stumbled badly at the break in the victory ride. Now, the fact that she ran fourth was probably aided by the fact they went so fast. It was a contested duel between Mia Mischief and Classy Act. The winner came from almost as far back as Chad's Philly did, Dixie Serenade, who is not running. She's, I think, running in a race at Parks on the same day. But it should be a good race for Separation Powers to move forward to. Now, Chad did say that she kind of injured a quarter in that race. Separation Powers did, but it's been a month, over a month. She's better now. The interesting horse of Chad is Alter Moon, a filly that they bought not privately, out of the Fasig-Tipton sale for about $650, $625. Peter Brandt bought her.
I think it was over $7.
It was over $7. Okay, even higher. I only went up to 600, so that's where I lost interest. She comes off some very good races at Gulfstream. Now I don't know what she was beating in the Azalea, and obviously in an optional claimer. 16.
Not much.
Okay, you do. I don't. But she's handled a wet track. If that comes up, she could also lay close to the pace. The interesting scenario, as we talked about before in the press boxes, is the race going to be run the same way as the Victory Ride? Mia Mischief, Classy Act, are they really going to go at each other again, or is something going to change in that regard?
And what about Minute to Stardom? She's only won her 3 lifetime starts by about 19 lanes combined. Her last race, the buyer she got is higher than any other last race buyer in the field, and trainer Al Stahl told me that she did it about as easy as can be. So she's really the big question mark here.
And I like where she's drawn, 8 of 9. I think she should get an outside stalking trip. She's been close to the pace. She was only half a length off of 44-4 last time. Hopefully, I would not want to see her right on the pace, dueling with a Mia Mischief or a Classy Act, because she hasn't faced some of those yet. But if she can sit, if Corey Lanerie can get her to sit a little bit right off the pace, she should be tough. And you always respect these undefeated fillies.
Be a great story after what happened earlier this year if Corey Lanerie can come back and win a Grade 1 race at Saratoga. Let's go run quickly through the turf races. We'll start with the Della Rose, Chad, Uni, and Prasous. Who do you like?
Well, I'd like Uni, but when I went to see him this morning, he thinks Prasous is going to really love soft ground. So, look, she was a Group 1 winner in Europe, on soft ground. She hasn't run in over a year, but he seems to be pretty confident that she's ready to run a good race off the bench. So who might argue with Chad?
A Chad 1-2 finish, that's kind of unheard of, isn't it?
Yeah, at least in the last hour.
And we'll take a look at the wire. Mile and a half there. Chad has Santa Monica and Homeland Security, but it's not a 2-horse race.
It's not a 2-horse race, and it might be a 2-horse race, but it might not be a 2-horse race between Chad and Chad. Santa Monica is the one I like, but you have to respect Mom's on Strike for Joe Sharp, who's off to a very good start at the meet. Won the Bewitch at a mile and a half. Ran fourth, only beaten 2 lengths in the New York to 4-star Crook. And Sister Charlie came out of that race to win a Grade 1. Daddy's Little Darling came out of that race to win a Grade 3 at Arlington. And against these kinds, she probably wants the mile and a half. And the yielding turf is something that'll move her up. I think it's between Santa Monica and Mom's on Strike. See how the price plays out.
And the day will end with a pretty good race. The Lure, Chad has Ticonderoga, defending champ Zenner is in there. Hasn't run since he won the Lure here last year. And then there's the horse for the course, the Voodoo Song, 4 for 4 here last year.
Yeah, I'm going to guess Voodoo Song's not going to run. I think Voodoo Song, they're looking at a bigger prize next week in the 4-star Dave. Plus, I think they're also not looking to run on a softer turf course. So I would think Voodoo Song comes out, which also is going to change the pace of this race. It puts Zenner right back in the game there, I think, sitting right off the pace there. I'm interested in Inspector Lindley, 1 for 1 over this course. Second, being a half length in the Wise Dan on that very hot night at Churchill Downs. Has had time to recover. I'm a little concerned on that horse for the off turf, a soft kind of turf, but Shug's horse has been running pretty well up here, and I think Inspector Lindley is definitely worth a long look.
All in all, a great day to look forward to here Saturday. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, and hope you will cooperate and be here with us for the remainder of the meet here at DRF.com, DRF Live. Dave will be back again on a weekly basis to give you his, we'll see, insightful and hopefully correct picks in all the stakes here Saturday and all the stakes the rest of the meet here at Saratoga 2018.